All right, welcome back to the garage. Today we have a couple new things. First of all, we're going to be going over the Clockwork Corvids with their Bluetooth headsets and all, but we're also on a different map. And I know earlier, at some point, I think I'd mentioned that I'm going to keep it on the standard woodland map, just so everything's kind of the same for each of the teaching videos. And I realized that that's kind of a silly rule. I recently was able to play Root for the first time with other humans, first time in a long time. And not only did I get to play the regular Corvids for my first time, I got to play on both the lake and the mountain map, and they were both a ton of fun. I played on the lake map against robots before, but never either of them against, meat bags. So I thought, let's break the mold a little bit. And the Corvids were a ton of fun to play. I'm looking forward to getting to play them again. I did win, so that was pretty awesome. Okay, so today, going over the Clockwork Corvids. So this is the last of the current set of BetterBot Project print and plays. Once again, backed by some beer cardboard. Side note, Twin Cities beer drinking IPA fans, if you can get this flashback pack from Insight Brewing, definitely do it. So yeah, this is the last one most recent one they have up on the list for, not extensively play tested, but ready to go. I have been notified that there is at least a early version of Underground Duchy, but I have not yet tried that yet. So let's dive into it. Again, just like the other Rivet Folk and the Clockwork Cult, this is not extensively play tested, but should play better, the newest version. So setup, we gathered our warriors, and now we need to put all of our plot tokens face down. Just like with the regular human-controlled Corvids, you want to keep those secret so other people can't see what's not out on the table or on the map. So let's do that now. Okay, and I mixed them up, which is obviously important. Even more so if you're playing, if there are at least one human faction in the game with them, because you still have the opportunity to try to expose the plots, which we'll get to that with these other guys in a second. But yeah, I as the pilot shouldn't know what I'm putting on the board with these, which is different than the human Corvids, because obviously that would be crazy if you just didn't know what the plot was. Then you're going to put one warrior in each of the lowest priority clearings of each suit. So rabbits have 11 and 12. Mouse has 10, and looks like fox has 9. There we go. Rules at the top of the card. Couple of the old standbys. Power manual, dexterity. They don't have a hand. Anything that would get them a card gets them victory points. If anything were to effect were to take a card from them, you just draw it from the deck instead. Hate surprises, can't play ambush cards against them. The one unique rule is actually the same as the human control faction. In battle as defender with a face down plot token, you deal an extra hit. Okay, so we are on the table. I neglected to mention these guys set up, I believe I is their setup order number or letter. So they set up last. So here is the matchup we're going to have coming up in the next video. Mechanical Marquis, the Automated Alliance, who's not on the map, ooh, and the Vagabot. So that is exactly 21 points on the reach scale. So it is the lowest level of legitimacy according to the table. So there we go. Let's go into the actual turn of the Corvids. So Birdsong, you're going to reveal an order card, just like the others. Oh, let's ignore that one. And I guess that'll be our spot for our order card, since we don't. That's right about where it was on the forest map too. Next up is craft. Just like the other Clockworks or BetterBot Project factions, if it is a craftable item, then they do it. automatically, and they get 1 victory point, regardless of what the item is. Recruit. You bring out 1 warrior in each ordered clearing. No qualifiers having to do with ruling, which is just like the human corvids. These go everywhere. It's not, building out from your base of operations. So with Fox, we would do 1, 2, 3, and this one we obviously couldn't because the keep is there. If the ordered card is a bird card, you instead recruit 2 warriors in each of the 2 clearings with the most corvid warriors. So even though they spread all over the place, there is an important, sort of like the Riverfolk Company, there's a mechanism in here that does trigger off of having a critical mass of warriors in a location. So that is still important, even though they're going to be kind of popping up all over the map. Flip. All face-down plot tokens in all clearings. And you do that in priority order, because you might have more than 1. For each flip, gain 1 victory point per face-up plot, and then resolve its effect. So right now, we don't have any plots on the board. This is theoretically the first turn of the game. We're just sort of getting started. So that's the end of Birdsong. Next up in Daylight, you're going to battle in each ordered clearing with 2 or more corvid warriors. If there are multiple factions in the same clearing, ties are broken by most building and tokens combined, and then most points. So they're kind of the bomb throwing faction, so they're more interesting in destroying infrastructure than they are necessarily going after the leader of the game. So in this case, there would really only be 1. Because there is a matchup here, but there's only 1 corvid warrior. So in 9, take out the cat, and that would be the 1 battle. It could be as many as all 4 of the ordered clearings, though. Or if it's a bird, it could just be everywhere, sort of like battles with the cats. Move all but 2 of your warriors from each ordered clearing with a plot token to an adjacent clearing without a plot token. You can only have 1 plot token clearing, so they are going to be trying to spread out to put those down wherever they can. But again, it's move all but 2. So the most we have is 2, so that wouldn't apply. So even if we did have 3 warriors in the clearing, this currently would not move because there's not a plot token here. If there was a plot token here, then we would have 3 potential options, in which case we go to priority, and we would leave it there. If there is no adjacent clearing without plot tokens, because all 3 of them already have 1, you would break ties by the lowest priority. So before, we were going to the highest priority to go if they are tied as all being without a plot token, but since they all have it, instead, it's going to break ties by going to the lowest priority. So back to our original setup, your next action in Daylight is going to be plot. You're going to remove 1 corvid warrior from the ordered clearing with the most warriors and no plot tokens to place a random face-down plot token there. So of the ordered clearings, this one obviously has the most. So you would remove that from the board, choose a random face-down plot token, and now that's that warrior became an agent to make the plots. Next up, the plot thickens. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, so we did a little warrior magic. Let's say this was the situation. After plot, the plot thickens. If there's a clearing that has no plot token and level or more corvid warriors, remove level warriors and place a random face-down plot token there. So just like the last 2 BetterBot project factions, the difficulty level is not controlled by the cards like the Clockwork factions, which, side note, I will always be playing Mechanical Marquee with challenging because they just need a little bit of extra oomph. So beginning of the game, you have to start by choosing one of these values: beginner, expert, or master, 3, 2, or 1 respectively. So for us, we're going to be playing beginner. So plot thicken says if there are 3 or more warriors in a clearing with no plot token, you remove 3 warriors to put a plot token there. So obviously there are 2 that fit that bill. Ties are broken, however, by the clearing with the most warriors. So in this case, that would be here. So you cashed in 3 warriors to make a plot. So it's definitely not as efficient as the normal plot part of the turn, but it's a way to get more tokens on the board. So for those of you who haven't played against the Corvids, human controlled or bot controlled, these tokens are their money makers. Back over here, the end of Birdsong, you flip all of the face down tokens and score 1 victory point per. So if this was our situation at the end of Birdsong, we already have 1. So we would go in priority order. We would flip this, so we'd score 2 victory points. Then we would flip this, and we would score 3 victory points. So it adds up pretty quickly over time. Now, if they both meet the criteria and neither has more warriors, then you go to priority. In this case, all 3, whoops, face down. So that's the end of daylight. And we're already into evening. Score 1 victory point per pancake hand. I mean, it's clearly like coins, or extortion as the game calls it, on the map. So these take the place of, well, for the human controlled Corvids, these are what are going to add to your card drawing per turn. So in true to form Clockwork fashion, card drawing just becomes victory points. So they don't even pretend that this helps you draw cards. They just already change that into victory points for you. And then you discard your order card. That's it. So a couple of other things, just like the other Better Bot projects recently, boss mode for co-op, each round score 1 victory point for every 2 players rounded up. So it's like you're playing with the nightmare difficulty on one of the Clockwork factions and just ticking up 1 victory point or more if you have, say, 3 people going against it or more. The plots. So if you're not familiar with the Corvid, the plots, bombs, we have bombs, snares, extortion, or pancake hand, and raid. And there are 2 of each. Again, face down, nobody knows what they are until they're flipped up. So for the bomb plot, it's the same destruction effect as the human-controlled Corvids. And remember, it is only enemy pieces on the board. So if we flipped over this and was a bomb, it would destroy these, he would remain. The one change from the human faction is when the bomb is flipped up, usually that just goes away. It is removed from the map. However, for the bots, that bomb that was there is replaced by a random face-up plot. So that's a big change, because the bomb for human players is a one-time kind of punch in the gut, and then you get victory points for it one time when it flips. However, that's it, it's just gone. But for the bot, not only does it stick around for victory points, but no matter which other one it's replaced by, face up, it's going to benefit from those. So let's go into those other ones. So snare, while face up, enemy pieces cannot be placed in or moved from the clearing. So this would actually be kind of brutal, because this is the sawmill. If a snare was here, they wouldn't be able to put down wood tokens if it was a human control player. The mechanical marquee doesn't care about actually making logs. It just does it automatically. But this cat would not be able to escape. It would need to take care of this first. Next up, extortion. So this causes players to discard a chosen card rather than give a Corvids a random one when it's flipped. So this obviously, if it replaced it after the bomb, that would not happen because it's not counting as being flipped. However, its second effect, that it provides victory points in the evening, that would still be there. But the first part, if, say, this was flipped over here, so the extortion would take effect and cause players discard 1 chosen card just out of the game, rather than give the Corvids a random one. So for human players, that gives you a little bit more agency. You get to choose which card you're getting rid of, and it's just leaving the game, as opposed to randomly losing one and the Corvid player gets it. And actually, for this setup, because all the factions are bot controlled, poor manual dexterity says that they cannot discard cards. So the first part, like when this is flipped in this game, is going to do nothing because none of the other bots have anything to discard. So the only effect this will have is giving the victory points in the evening. The last type of plot token is the raid token. When removed, place one warrior in each adjacent clearing. Exposure doesn't trigger this. So this is a really kind of a crucial plot token choice for the Corvid conspiracy. Now with this, it's going to be interesting because it's all kind of randomized, but this is kind of where you're going to be, as a human player, you would be needling the other factions to challenge them to come try and remove this, because they know they're going to be scoring more and more victory points from having a face-up plot. However, removing this would immediately spawn warriors in all adjacent clearings. Now, even though we're on the lake map, and these coastal clearings are considered adjacent with the raft, I don't believe they're going to be considered adjacent for these purposes, because that would be crazy. If that was true, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 warriors, which is pretty wild. I think 5 is the most you can get on the mountain map, unless I'm forgetting one. But yeah, so destroying this gives the Corvids a pretty sizable advantage in terms of strength. So all these plot tokens, you're thinking, well, it's kind of a big deal. It's a big part of this faction. How are these other robots going to handle that? And you'd be right to ask that, because if the answer was just nobody ever did, that would be broken, because they would just exponentially ramp up, because the only thing that would ever like bring them down is just random chance that the other factions target these tokens after they churn through the warriors. So that's not how that works. Instead, the BetterBot project files says this plot token rule card: when playing with Corvid, either human or bot player, against any bots, find all plot token cards for any bots in play. They detail how the bots will interact with plot tokens. Marquee, Vagabond, and Automated Alliance. So before we get into the specifics, looking through all of these plot token cards, there is not a like an order of priority that a faction would try to expose a plot token and guess what it is. Instead, they're all going to give you the rules as to how they respond to the plots once they are face up. And it's not just you know, whether or not they would prioritize taking out a plot or avoid it. Some of these are actually going to be like rules breaking things that the factions engage with when certain plots are on the board. So for instance, for the Automated Alliance, Snare, whenever you place Alliance warriors, ignore the effect of snares. So snares do not allow you to place pieces on the map. The Alliance ignores that. If you cannot place sympathy tokens because of snares, because sympathy is still affected by it, but not warriors. But if you can't place sympathy tokens because of snares, score 5 victory points instead. So that's kind of huge. The bomb, whenever a bomb is flipped in a clearing with a base, you immediately battle the Corvid there. If you remove the token, its effect will not trigger, but the Corvid player will still score points for flipping the token. So if in clearing 6, we flip it over and it's a bomb, unless another faction has something else, the Automated Alliance would take point, and they would immediately, regardless of the fact that it would be during the Corvid's turn, they're going to immediately battle the Corvids. 3-0. This guy would be able to take out 1, which means the bomb token would still be there. Had there been another Alliance warrior there, they would have taken out both of these, scored a victory point for the bomb, and like it said, if you remove the token, its effect will not trigger. But the Corvid player still scores the points for flipping the token. So in the case where it was, we rolled 3 but only had 1 warrior, he would kill the warrior, but unfortunately didn't get to the bomb, and its effect would still go off. So all these enemy pieces would be destroyed. So that's the Automated Alliance. Vagabot, snare. If ordered to move and blocked by a snare, take battle actions targeting the Corvid until the snare has been removed. So if the snare is, he's being asked to move to go explore the ruins, he obviously can't leave because the snare is there. So he's going to keep taking battle actions by flipping over items to do so, trying to battle the Corvid, first getting rid of the warriors until he can hopefully get rid of the snare to move again. So it short circuits whatever he's being told to do based on the daylight actions dictated by the order card to try to get free of that snare. And last but not least, I love this one, the Mechanical Marquis 2.0. The riffraff and criminals are no concern for your kingdom. You're busy building an empire of glorious robot kittens. That's in italics. That is just flavor text. There are no rules. So the Mechanical Marquis will essentially do nothing. It will be affected by all of these, but it will not interact with them in any way aside from happening to target them and potentially take them out with battle actions. They're just focused on making their buildings. So last thing, just like the other factions, we have 4 different traits that, again, I always play with one of these. You can play with 0, you can play with as many as 4, but to me they give a little bit more personality to the factions. We'll go over which of the other ones I have for the other factions in the playthrough. Whoa, but for this time, Mastermind. So perform the plot thickens twice each turn. That'll be interesting. I'll put it over here. It won't get in the way until we get really close to the end. And hopefully by then, I will have it memorized. So that is the Cyber Corvids. I'm excited to try them out for the first time. I'm excited to do the first Robo Rumble map on, or Robo Rumble on the lake map. Yeah, so stop by next time and see what happens. Thanks for stopping by.